Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back to another single-player episode. This time around, things have changed just a little bit. I accidentally had a hard drive completely crash on me, my main drive, so I kind of lost everything. I was able to save this map that we were working on from the backup. Unfortunately, our winter map did not survive. Something to do with Seasons mod makes it so it's basically not recoverable, so that's unfortunate. But that's not to say we won't do another winter map eventually, because I was really enjoying doing some snow clearing. So I was able to save this one. Unfortunately, the machines did not stay in their positions. Everything kind of got reset and screwed up. So I've kept the map from last time, where we were cutting up on the hill there, some of the cleanup projects we had. I figured I might as well keep this just for fun. I went and purchased the jackal here, which we're going to be playing around with. Basically, my plan is I want to try to cut down as many trees and pile as high and as long as I can before the game crashes. That's basically something different, something new. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wander through the bushes here. I'm going to cut down these trees to 500-meter lengths, and then we're going to come up behind eventually when we get a forwarder, and then we will be able to pick them all up and clean it all up. That's the theory. And then we'll be able to kind of make forwarding piles, you know, kind of along the way. So that's kind of what I want to do. So we'll get to really put this thing to the test. Oops. Bad first test. Put this thing to the test for its ability to cut, because we're really gonna, at least we're on flat ground this time. In the snow map it was a bit of a nightmare there, cutting down some of that stuff on those hills, and with the Seasons mod it made it very difficult to have the logs settle nicely. So hopefully this time around we won't have that problem. Not to say it's impossible that we will, but you never know, right? Oh, actually we should try that view just for fun. Let's do something different. Test out that. It's actually a really trippy view. Although, like I said, if I play in this view for too long, I get like really bad motion sickness, so I gotta be careful. It seemed to be when I was loading that I got the worst, but with the bunchers and on the processors, I'm able to see the track, so it kind of gives you a bit of a baseline. Oops. So it helps if I open up my blades there. Recently, I've in my most recent versions, the controls have been adjusted so that they're a little bit more fine-tuned. The claws open a lot slower, more hydraulically, that kind of stuff. I had a little bit of feedback from some people that really didn't like that, but ultimately it's the best control I've ever had of machinery since doing that. So I mean, you can always go into your controls and crank up your sensitivity if it's too slow for you. But like I said, I'm finding really good results from being able to actually use the equipment now. So I plan to leave it the same as long as I can. Unless something new and better comes along, that's usually how I go. There we go. Oops, there we go, beautiful. So yeah, my whole plan is to just kind of walk along and process here. Like I said, I'm going to kind of make a base pile here with the trees that we do already have alongside the road. That way we'll be able to have kind of a spot where we know we'll go. And then we'll come along with that forwarder and clean up. I think it'll be fun. See, now we're getting a little ways from the pile, so I'll probably just start knocking them down into piles so we can just walk along with the processor and pick them up. That's the theory, anyhow. Maybe we'll go this way a little more. We do have a forwarder, which has tracks, so we'll be able to run that back wherever we want. Let's knock this down. Beauty. Like I said, this is kind of neat to show you guys a different view of things too. Like, normally, like I said, we're always in the cab, but it's kind of cool to show this view. What I would love is if there was a way to have cameras so that you could always show like a view of each thing that would cycle for people watching. You'd need a person always watching you though, or have another person run around and film you basically cutting the whole time. Need to hire a film guy. mean, Colin technically is my film guy, but I think that'd be pushing it, walking around in circles. Although he's done a great job filming filming a lot of the stuff that's... he basically records all of the promo videos that come out. For every time a new mod comes out, there's those cool promo videos with the songs and stuff. He did all the recording for the videos, and then basically I just mash them together and add them up to songs and stuff like that, so that looks pretty cool. But yeah, he's been a crazy good help on making that possible. Because if not, yeah, I don't know. He kind of has the same vision as I do when it comes to showing stuff off, you know, like marketing-wise. So it kind of helps us both work together really well, because he'll do something, he'll come up with a creative idea that I never thought of, and then, or I'll come up with something that I'm like, huh, and then he, you know, makes a spin on it, and it turns out really good. So I'm very, very happy to have him help me out with that. I was actually getting really close to running out of single-player episodes. I have been so busy in my personal life. It's been absolutely crazy. Just, new job stuff, and I got some promotions at some jobs, so moving up the ladder to some higher paid, but also higher responsibility. So a lot of stuff I got to learn, and it's just been really, really busy. I mean, all for the good, all for the better. It's been a fun process so far. Always up for new things. The spice of life, novelty right there, eh? So yeah, we're sort of slowly working on getting that all figured out, but unfortunately it's kind of cut into the mod time a bit. Still lots of good stuff coming out, but yeah, and then with the Giants thing with Patreon there, that was kind of wild. So I don't know if anybody didn't hear about that, but I was contacted by Giants directly, finally, after years of trying to get a hold of them. And basically they said that we're not allowed to offer any kind of content on Patreon that's like mod content that isn't released to the public. So if there's anything that Patreons are getting related to mods that the public can't get, and there's a paywall between it, it's against their Giants agreement with the modding TOS or whatever there. So yeah, so I've always said on all of my streams and all of my everything, I said if Giants ever didn't want me to do what I was doing, all they had to do was ask and I would stop. And that's exactly what I did. I totally respected their wish for me to stop doing that, and they said thank you for respecting it, and that was the end of that. They've recently gone after a whole bunch of people on Patreon. They are actively seeking every single person that has anything to do with modding and farming and all that stuff, and they're going to shut it down. So I mean, ultimately, it's good and bad, and I'll tell you what the difference is between the two. So bad because obviously the incentive for people to donate money on Patreon was that they would have access to beta mods. Bad because the beta testers actually did solve a lot of problems before they went public. Unfortunately now lots of stuff is going to come out public that'll have some issues that won't be resolved, so that's unfortunate. The good part, because I like to look at a positive in everything, the good part is, one, I don't have to worry about leaks anymore, because I had a huge issue with people leaking early access mods that weren't really ready yet. So I would have a really half-done version that I sent off to Patreons. I wanted some testing and some feedback. And what would happen is somebody would, submit a $5 Patreon thing, then they'd go on there and then upload all my stuff to, Mod Hub or share it on Facebook publicly with everybody. And yeah, that kind of caused a bit of a ruckus there. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because it's, it just ruined it for everybody, because now there's a crappy version of the mod out there, so everybody thinks, oh, what a crappy version, but that was never initially the version that was supposed to be out there in the first place. So so that's one thing that's definitely cured now because of that, because now I don't have to worry about people stealing the mods, because they all come out at the same time, so nobody's going to have access to them prior to anyone. So it's a real big bonus for me. The other bonus is now I don't have to run a dual release schedule, basically. So what was happening was Patreons were getting a mod for a week to 2 weeks ahead of the public. And basically what would happen is Patreon would get it. 2 weeks later, after testing and everything went smooth, the public would get it. So I would always constantly have to realize which mods I had public, which mods I had in Patreon, which ones were coming out next week, and which ones were already out, and it just made this big, it's just kind of annoying, because it was like so hard to schedule all of that and time all of that, and it was really like becoming a full-time job pretty much, trying to keep everything on schedule and queue. So now everything comes out public. I'm able to have my sweet promo video that comes out. I'm trying to do every Friday, but I mean, now that Patreon has cut quite a bit, I don't have as many people donating. I mean, the models are going to dive out a little bit because I'm not going to have enough money to pay the modeler people to do the work that I want, or purchase new models from other modeling sites as well. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way she goes sometimes. And like I said, I've never did this for the money, so it's a self-perpetuating thing, you know. When FDR Logging finally became popular on Patreon and I was making, you know, $300-400 a month, it was really great because I was able to pay for mods, you know, to buy that stuff outright. If I see something, oh man, that truck looks amazing, or oh, that machine looks amazing, I can just purchase the model and get to work and start going, right? When in the past I was like, oh man, I gotta save up like 4 paychecks before I can put enough money away to buy that thing. So, but now, like I said, now that Patreon is public, basically everyone has access to all the mods. I definitely did lose a lot of supporters. I lost about, I don't know, let's say probably 40% of my Patreons. I did still keep a good number of people, and I'm really happy that a lot of people stuck around, because it does show me that there is support outside of just getting cool stuff for you and you only. So, I mean, if any of you guys are Patreons and are watching, I mean, I really do appreciate the support that you've given me so far, because it's been huge. And like I said, as long as there's support, I mean, I'll keep doing it. I don't know if I don't know how much my own personal money I'll put back into this anymore. Like, I've spent a lot of money of my own on this stuff to put it all together. So once it started, kind of, my whole plan was, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit of my own money personally, which my wife did not agree with at first, but that was the way it went. She thought it was not a great plan. And I was like, well, you know, you got to spend money to get things started, and then hopefully it can kind of self-perpetuate itself, right, and then do its own thing. So yeah, we sent it off and said, let's do this, and spent a bunch of money, and then it ended up actually kind of paying for itself. So that worked out pretty good. But now, like I said, with this little turn of events, it's definitely going to slow things down a little bit for sure. So where should I put these logs? But that's okay, and like I said, I was never in it for the money. I've never had a personal gain from FDR Logging. Like I said, there's a couple times where I got like an extra $50 a month, and I kept the $50 a month for myself to put on the put on my past debts, and I've slowly almost paid myself back for everything that I've spent on this. So that was kind of the neat goal to accomplish there. But other than that, I mean, I haven't gained much from this. YouTube as well, I mean, you don't make a whole bunch off YouTube. If you get as big as like guys like the Squad, where you have, you know, like 300k subscribers, then yeah, there's definitely a chance you can make some more money that way. But when you're just a little guy like me, you don't make a whole lot of cash. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It sounds like there's somebody like grinding something in my building. I don't know what's going on. They might be doing construction downstairs or something. It sounds pretty wild. I can feel it in my pedals on the floor. That's why I'm like, what is that sound? But yeah, so like I said, Patreon was a little bit of a disappointment to lose that, because it was working out really well and we were getting more and more support all the time. Like I said, now I'm starting to do stuff on Patreon, like you know, like draws and things like that, and I want to offer some maybe digital content. I got another actually really cool surprise coming out here soon as well. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do and how many people we can keep and how long. And I mean, ultimately, if it dies off, it dies off. There's not much we can do about that, but we will we'll do it as long as we can. And hopefully, I mean, once Farming Simulator 2019 comes out, I mean, we're gonna have a whole bunch of work to bring all of this stuff over to FS19. So even if the models stop for a while or support slows down, I'm gonna have a lot of work ahead of me anyway to try to move all this stuff over, and that's still the plan. Like, I do want to move this content to 2019. Hopefully it's more optimized, better condition, you know, that kind of stuff. But we'll see. We will see how it goes. And I'd say we're probably coming up on our 15 minutes, if not way over our 15 minutes, because I have been blabbering. I just want to cut this one last tree because it's kind of this last one in the section here. And I'm going to lay it right into our pile. Since this beautiful pile is right here, we might as well. Oh, weird. There we go. Left to right is so weird for cutting. It's easier in this view, though, for sure, than it was in the cab view. So obviously your boom's not in your way. Alright, okay, so I'm going to park this bad boy. Like I said, this map will be kind of the consistent one for the next little bit. Just because the snow map kind of died. I might do another snow map eventually, but I think we'll take a break and just stick to one map and keep moving on it, because that way we'll be able to produce a little bit more. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and like I said, if you liked the video, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.